Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode 35 of Tactical Crouch, talking to you every week about competitive Overwatch stuff. During the mid-season break, got a cool opportunity here, joined by, of course, Yiska and Joe. Good to see you guys. But in the dark, just completely dark, might as well not even have his cam on at this point. None other than the godfather, the father of Overwatch stats himself, Analyst for the Toronto Defiant, memer, dreamer, and Panda cosplayer, Barroi. Barroi, it's good to have you on the show. It only took us 35 episodes.
I feel like I did something horribly wrong, because this is episode 35, and I'm here, finally. Like,
it should have been earlier. I tell you, it's actually Yiska and Joe's fault. They're kind of the guys.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
They're the guys who...
I thought it was the first reoccurring guest. If you had asked me if he was on, I would have said yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
Didn't
happen.
So sad.
We literally. So I was telling Barroi before the show is I think that we actually, when we were discussing starting Tactical Crouch, Barroi was like one of the first ones to be like, yeah, it'd be easy to get Barroi on there because we talk about our super secret group all the time and literally almost every day. You hop into the voice channel and you hear a "What up,
What up,
every day. So like this is a part of the group that just hangs out every day and talks Overwatch and plays auto chess. Apparently now.
I was there when the name was chosen. I remember all the names Yiska came up with.
Oh yeah, what were some of the other names that we were gonna call it? I think we.
There were some really good ones. Fuck.
I can't remember. I remember that it was really tough for us to find a name.
Yeah. And the over thing was kind of played out, and then alliterations. Like everyone thinks in esports is so amazing with rhetorical devices. Alliterations were geniuses now. That is all played out.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, to be fair, this is like the name was from John. Like he came up with it, and I was like, I don't know, man. Like maybe people would be like,
that's so smart.
You can't teabag. Teabagging's bad, but hey,
Joe thought her name was risky.
I was like, I don't know, man. People are gonna be.
I don't want Blizzard to hate me.
Up in arms. We already got the one.
At this point, man, I don't even.
Yeah, I can see the 1-star iTunes reviews coming in.
Let them come in.
By the way, if you do want to support the show really quick, go leave us a 5-star iTunes review. We've got quite a few, but they're still like from the Overwatch League daily stuff. And so I don't know if people who read those know that we're still active. So take a couple minutes and do that. We'd appreciate it. But yeah, let's talk about Barroi. So before we get started with all the cool stuff, Barroi, how's break been? Halfway through your first season, how you doing? Like you're just smoothing in out on the beach, hanging out, no work to be done.
Well, this week was our first week with scrims again, but yeah, like I liked my break, except for that it was raining almost all the time. Like, come on, I come to California, I live in Los Angeles, and then I have 2 weeks off, and I have 3 days of sunlight. Is that? Are you serious? Like, this is not what they showed me on television.
Yeah.
This is not the fucking Hollywood life. This is German life. I'm back to... It feels like home. Depressing.
Feels like home. Minus the healthcare. Yeah.
Minus the health. Yeah, why? It's worse. The food is 4 times as expensive.
Yeah.
There's no healthcare.
Dude, rent in LA, man. I don't know what it's like compared LA to San Francisco, but... It's when I told somebody, one of my friends from Colorado, how much we're paying for rent, they just go, they can do that? like, yeah. How many, how big is the house? And we're like, oh yeah, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. They're like, what?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
You could buy the nicest. Yeah, you could buy the nicest house in my hometown.
But yeah, other than that, break has been great. I've been chilling. I've been sleeping all day, all night, every day, every night.
Do you not sleep every day?
Well, now I am. I thought so. People recommended that to me. And I was like, okay, I was like really skeptical for many years, but then I tried it. And I can only, if this was a commercial, I would like right now, I would be like, sleeping has changed my life. You too should sleep every day.
And every night.
And every night. If you don't sleep enough, you will die.
What?
I died, but now I'm alive.
I was dead.
Because you slept, right?
Because I slept.
Sleep. And at this point, there's like a black and white text coming in, and it just says, sleep.
1-800-SLEEP.
Man,
But
Toronto Defiant, there's some content there for your YouTube, I swear. There's something there.
If you have sleep issues, call 1-800-SLEEP and get your sleep tonight.
I take you also did mushrooms the way you explained it. Was there
I think
a lot of
sleep might be a
decompressing?
drug now, is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to do a lot of decompressing? Was it really stressful? What's like?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So Overwatch League is crazy. It's so stressful. I needed those 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks of a break, and I needed those 2 weeks because it was crazy. Especially the second stage, because we were kind of underhanded in terms of staff. We were not doing well, so we had to do more work as coaches.
Of course.
It was crazy. Like a normal week in Overwatch League, you work like 10 hours a day at least. And then in theory, you have like 1 day off. We have like 1 day off, which is like either Sunday or Monday, depending on when we are playing. But the thing is, if you want your team to succeed, and if you're not doing well, that day off is spent looking at your last match and researching and trying to find out weaknesses of the team that you're playing this week, trying to find out what you did wrong last week, and trying to like come up with a plan to fix that. Because you don't have any time to do that during like the normal work days. You have to do that before, because you have to get that information to your players, right? So there's like no time off. It's crazy. It is crazy. I never believed people who said that they would like work all day and they would have crazy work hours. But now I do. You should too sleep, because otherwise you'll go crazy.
You should sleep. Yeah. There you go. That's going to be the episode title, I think, is You Should Sleep. You should sleep. There it is. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Overwatch League and that kind of stuff. Before we do, though, a few housekeeping things. Number one, follow us on Twitter at @tactical_crouch so you can see when we have special episodes like this going live. Also, tweet us your questions and topics you'd like to see discussed on the show. You can also post them. Yiska has a podcast discussion channel in his Discord. I think we still have the Overwatch League daily Discord up. We have an email. It's in the show notes. Like, send us your questions. Shouldn't be how to send it to us isn't one of the barriers to sending us a question. We record live. We're going to be back on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, I believe. I think we're still planning on doing that. And then, of course, you can watch and listen to the podcast anywhere, including YouTube and anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. So make sure to check it out there. Just search for Tactical Crouch. Let's talk about the news. Big one coming in on Friday night. Nate Nanzer, commissioner of the Overwatch League, the ideator and the apparently, the person who kind of brought Overwatch League into its first season and then, of course, beyond. Nate Nanzer stepping down as Overwatch League commissioner to lead Epic's esports endeavors. That's why we need microtransactions.
Yeah.
That's why we need a battle pass. Give me a Overwatch battle pass so you get Nanzer back.
I think so. While it's kind of sad and all of that, and people are like saying, "Oh, the Overwatch is burning right now." Actually, I think it's very simple. look at what Epic Games does. They spent like $100 million the last 2 years, every year for the last 2 years, on their esports product. And think how much money they would give to like the person that leads that whole endeavor.
Yeah.
And then compare that with what Nate Nancer probably got for Overwatch League. And you'll be like, I would have taken a salary increase as well.
Here's the thing. I'm sure money played a role. The thing is, how it has been explained to me, and this is a hypothesis. This is not like from internal Blizzard sources or whatever. It's more like a hypothesis that what Nate did for the league was more like a salesman ambassador type of role, right? Now we know that next year we're not going to have new teams in, right? They already said that. So his skill set really was catered towards acquisition of these new investors, of these new teams. So that is not happening. That is very important to Fortnite as well. And if we take that scenario, and once again it's a hypothesis, that is not a problem if that guy leaves, right? At least for the foreseeable future. The real problem will be, the problems that we need to solve in the future are, can we make the game more fun or keep it fun for the foreseeable future? And then convert players into viewers. Can we make this traveling thing work and stuff like this? This is, under my understanding, not something that Nate Nancer has an expertise for in solving. So that as like an indicator that the ship is sinking is probably very weak at this point.
I mean, it's definitely strange, right? It's definitely weird to see the forward-facing icon of the league, the commissioner, even though like he wasn't really a commissioner, like you mentioned, he was more of the business guy, but he was the kind of face of the league. So who now is going to fill in that role of being on broadcast, being out there talking to people, going on to panels, kind of spreading the gospel and presenting like the trophies and stuff to the teams, and who's going to be that guy now? That's what I'm kind of interested in, and how are people going to take to that new person? Again, could be anybody.
Like, I think someone is set up in the interim. I was surprised that
it's the guy who leads up the entire Activision Blizzard esports is stepping in as commissioner. I forget his name, but he's the esports lead for Activision Blizzard.
Okay. The ESPN article said Pete something.
Pete. Let's call him Pete.
Just Pete.
Just Pete.
There is someone that does the usual tasks that you would associate with a commissioner of a league, right? Certainly for the Overwatch League. To me, he's known as, or I think the person who does that is John Spector. And I thought he would have been the logical next step. From what I've seen, he's also very presentable on camera, can talk. Maybe that is a guy if he wants to take that responsibility. Otherwise, I'm sure he will find a new face of the game.
Yep.
So my question is then, obviously we don't have any inside sources here, but Nate Nancer hasn't really led esports outside of a league structure. Do you think that is at all an indicator that Fortnite is going to be looking at something closer to Call of Duty, the new franchise league, or of course Overwatch League?
Yeah, I think it's I mean that's the obvious assumption, is that this guy can sell big team owners, traditional sports owners, VC companies on the idea of creating a new sport and saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you had the Detroit Pistons of Kansas City? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if you had like this esports thing and you had a city that you could call your own and build a team around it and market it and make a bunch of money off of it? Wouldn't that be cool if you could do it in Fortnite? That's what I think that's the logical conclusion. That's exactly where my head leads, is that, maybe Fortnite's going the way of franchising. I think
it's not just Fortnite, right? If I'm remembering correctly, it's also Rocket League, right?
All of Epic, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so, actually, because okay, maybe that's like the plan in the long term, but I don't think that it would happen like the next
No.
3
Yeah, of
years.
course you need to build it.
They
Because-
started building Overwatch League in 2015.
Yeah.
Sure, but Blizzard has a lot of experience when it comes to esports. Epic Games is new to the game. Like,
You
They
can
would
you
have
can
to
buy
hire not
experience, can't you?
All those
Well,
V-Bucks.
if they hire a lot of people, then I can see that. But I think they really need like
That's
lot
the
of
rumor
people
on
to
the
pull that
streets.
okay, maybe then that's where they're going. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe there's more people leaving.
I am excited to
leaving.
see.
Oh.
I am excited to see what happens to BR in esports, because so far, in my opinion, it's been a giant like F- as far as actual competitive BR esports stuff. The pro-ams, the celebrity pro-ams and big streamer pro-ams do way better viewership wise than actually putting the best players out there playing the games. And so I mean, I'm all for somebody to maybe step in and look at it differently and hopefully find a way to make BRs work. Because I really enjoy watching BRs. I really do, but I can only watch like good players, but maybe not best in the world players, playing over and over again in the same Friday skirmish type things. So
Yeah. I mean, for us as an Overwatch community, I guess the thing that concerns us is this a bad omen for Overwatch? As an indicator, it looks weird, I understand, but there's also stuff in the works that will come to light, I think, kind of soon, that has me excited. Not sure about the timing, but whatever. That
can you give us anything more than that?
No. That will make it interesting in the future. I'm sort of enthusiastic increasingly about the game, which needed to happen, by the way. That's
what Yiska is saying is watch BlizzCon.
Yeah, watch
Yes,
BlizzCon.
watch BlizzCon.
There you go.
Definitely
That's not
do
what
that.
Yiska said, though. So for anybody, yeah. So
I mean, to be fair, last night we got the news that Gauntlet will be held in the old Apex arena from way back when, which is pretty nostalgic. It's pretty cool. The finale of Contenders this season is going to be held in kind of a nice little sacred ground of Overwatch, right?
Dude,
like think about the history there. Think about all the names. Think about all the players that have
all
crossed
3
that stage.
years of history. Yeah,
dude. As far as I'm concerned, Overwatch is coming home.
Yeah,
this has so far. Apex
and
to me has so far been the best era of Overwatch as an esport.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I think you'd probably have to qualify a little bit of like what made it best for you, because it wasn't necessarily always in viewership.
It was IGN production.
Yes,
it was the production. It was the kind of
teams,
the tight-knit teams, the storylines. It felt, for the most part, pretty competitive across the board.
Yes.
Of course, you had your flash luxes, but for the most part, it was. It felt homely. It felt like that was the league. That was the league before the league.
I don't know if I trust you anymore after some of your takes from Pacific Showdown. I think Yiska had a few things to say about that.
Oh, Joe.
What's up, buddy?
Wait. Okay. So, you watched that, right?
I did. I did indeed.
It's a little small. So, what happened?
How many cups?
No, it's actually still too small. Pouring one out for China.
Thank you for that.
What happened to China, buddy? What happened?
A lot of things. A lot of things ended up happening. Not the best showing. F's in chat for LGE. It was the supposed, better team of the two. But we're only getting one slot this Gauntlet season.
There's wine on my floor.
He literally poured. So for the audio listeners out there, pulls out this little teacup because no, it's too small. pulls out like a medium-sized coffee cup. No, still too small. Pulls out like a ramen bowl cup. Takes half a bottle of wine, pours about half in, pours one out onto his carpet. Is it carpet or is it wooden floors? I've actually never seen your floor before.
No, it's one of those, where
fake wooden floor.
these mats that you put on your carpet in order.
Yeah. Okay, so it's
office
not
chair,
impossible to clean up.
Yes.
But pours one out for China, then takes a big old chug. Oh, that was so good.
That was pretty legendary. We'll have to say. Well played, sir.
You get the clap for that one. That was pretty pro. Appreciate it. Glad we found a way to fit that one in there.
I'm currently thinking up with my
His socks.
Your socks.
I think I have those same socks. Are those Under Armour?
No.
Okay, then never mind. All right. So we didn't, Joe and Yiska, you guys didn't even review my questions for Barroi, did you? So, well, we're gonna just go into it anyway. Then.
Yeah.
Can you look at a bird with its talents ever again? Is that possible, Joe? Without having PTSD?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay. Bottoms up?
Bottoms up. Cheers.
It's not the wine glass.
No, it's not.
The wine cup. The wine bowl.
That's that sleight of hand.
No, that was the tea.
The tea. Oh, man. Poor Australia. True that. Let's get into the kind of the bulk of it though. So yeah, Nate and Anzer moving on. From the most part, people I know who are in the know are if not optimistic about the change, think that this doesn't affect Overwatch negatively, competitively long term. No. So if you are at home and you're like, oh crap, I love Nate and Anzer, it's never going to be the same again. This isn't like Jeff Kaplan leaving the team. This isn't like Mike Morheim leaving Blizzard or anything. Yes. This is somebody who definitely was, kind of somebody who instilled the overall vision, sold a lot of money's worth of franchise slots, and really did legitimize a lot of the process that we will probably see for these kind of geographic based leagues in years to come. So it's by no means like Nate and Anzer doesn't matter. He didn't do anything like that. Nobody's saying that. But what's saying is that, where the league is now, the league is kind of at this point of almost a full on maturity and lots of room to grow. Close. Yeah, we're getting close. I mean, the only step next is home and away games, right?
But, to be fair, the hardest.
Quite the step.
Yeah.
Big deal. I mean, to be fair, at least I know of every Overwatch League team I've talked to already has their plans in place for those years. So
yeah, I have plans. I have plans too. Like, I'm waiting for our Chengdu game. And then I'll disappear. I'll just disappear in the jungle of China. I will
become one with the pandas.
I will become one with the pandas. I'll sneak into the giant panda facility in Chengdu. And so I have like a whole Google Doc of like 20 pages of what I am going to do. And it has like a step-by-step plan for each kind of scenario that could happen. Like the FBI is coming,
Oh, so that's a German coach thing, right? The long Google Doc with a lot of.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's an IOSUX reference.
Right.
Thanks for the blueprint.
70 pages on goats, yeah.
I have to be prepared for like in case the Chinese government is like trying to hunt me down. In case.
See what you did there, by the way. They're gonna hunt you down. Wink, wink. Chengdu hunters.
Yes, they're gonna hunt me down. I will. Like, what happens if I steal a panda and someone notices? Like. That's why I had to plan this all out, and obviously I have to do this before we go to Chengdu next year. So I think just from looking at this document, our team is really well set up for next year.
That doesn't matter if you win or lose.
No.
No.
As long as we are going to Chengdu.
The
Nope.
fact of the matter is they have a Panda and other teams don't. Checkmate.
Look at this.
There it is.
This is all that matters.
He just showed a panda on his
Yiska.
shirt for the audio listeners.
Do you have a panda costume? A full one?
It's right here. It's right here in my secret closet next to me.
It's actually right there.
And I can put on the hat. Where's the fucking? Oh, those are the feet.
So sorry for the audio listeners, by the way.
There
it
you go.
is. All right.
Okay,
He's
I will continue the podcast like this.
Thank
he's
you.
fully equipped.
It feels
Wait,
a lot more
but-
like you're fully clothed now. So that's usually.
Yeah,
better.
I'm no longer naked.
Oh man, this is. Oh, we got
Does
to kick type. in there.
is that fine with the filter? Just checking. Trapper. Is that fine with the filter, or does that count as sexual content?
We'll risk it. We'll risk it. I don't know. We'll risk it. I think we'll make it. I think we'll make it. All right, Barroi, time to go through the gauntlet. This is the gauntlet this year that I'm the second most excited about, but still very excited for. So we've got some questions for you.
Oh.
That's why we brought you on the show. Who would have thought? So,
I thought I'm just here to watch Yiska drink wine and Joe look like he's
Long and Joe.
no, that's my job.
Joe's like looking like he is the bad again.
Yep.
I'm just here to laugh and to kind of facilitate that laughter and bring it to the watchers,
Hmm.
to the viewers, so they can laugh as well.
Well, you were wrong. So sorry about that.
Well, we added, by the way, Vowels and Kenobi you also called out right here. You clowns. 3-0, really?
Hey, we got third
3-0.
place, man. Third
Great.
place.
How many spots does China have at the gauntlet?
One more than Australia.
Great.
Sorry to
We
all those
established the benchline.
Australia Overwatch apologists out there. Wait, hold on. I'm getting
You're
something.
speaking to Maid.
I'm getting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's none. You're telling me there's none. There are no Australia Overwatch apologists. Got it. Thank you for the confirmation.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Got a life call there.
So I just got kind of rung in here. There are no Australian Overwatch apologists. So
Oh, darn.
There are at
So-
least 3 China apologists, so.
You're darn tootin'.
and weird. It's like
when
it's, yeah. Go ahead.
When I'm thinking about Australia, there's nothing I can think of in terms of like Overwatch talent or like competitiveness. I'm just thinking 8 letters. Vote mate.
It's true.
It's true. Could make
Yep.
Australia great in
Yeah, we know.
Overwatch. We could. All right. let's talk. We got some questions for you, Barroi. We're gonna put you through the gauntlet here, and I'm sure we're gonna get serious answers for all of them. So here's
Yes.
one. I was doing some research this morning, and I noticed that less than 1/3 of the Overwatch League teams have someone in a role that would be directly equated to an analyst role. So your role is
really?
officially analyst. Less than 1/3. Now, that doesn't mean like assistant coaches don't do some of that stuff, or maybe coaches do, but only 1/3 of Overwatch League teams allocate a dedicated person to some sort of analysis, so much so that it's in their title.
Okay, before you continue,
Yeah.
I have worked with more than 1/3 of the Overwatch League teams. There we go. In the past.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Liquipedia.
No. I'm just saying. That was like in Winston's lab days,
Yes.
obviously. So I'm just saying, people are interested. But go ahead.
Well, so yeah. So I mean, can you tell us more about that? Like, before I even ask you my regular questions. So, when you were doing Winston's lab, you're saying that you were working with Overwatch League teams as far on like analysis and how that worked.
Yeah, just statistical analysis, like doing statistical reports and all of that. There were a
Suggesting
lot of-
players in the preseason?
suggesting players, building teams, all of that kind of stuff. The cool shit.
Can you tell
Basically.
us like some of like the most important like
I
stats that would
can't
come?
say anything.
can't?
Oh, wait, the most important stats.
Yeah, some of the most important stats that you found were like that when you were with Winston's lab were kind of one of the biggest things that maybe Overwatch League teams would go off of?
It really, well, there's no like one stat that is really important. It really depends on the team and what they are kind of trying to do. It depends on like the situation. Are they just building a team? Is it mid-season right now? It's very different from where we are right now. But something that's like really important, I guess, is just like everything that's kind of related to fight statistics in some kind of way. It's really important to kind of figure out what kind of a style a player has, all of that stuff.
So
it really depends on the situation, though.
So there's kind of a lot of mysticism surrounding, I would say, competitive Overwatch statistics. We've had guests before that says like nobody knows what they're doing with statistics, and we haven't.
I think there's exactly like one or two people who know what they're doing.
Are we talking to one of them?
I think you're talking to the only one.
You said one or two.
I think the other one.
Yeah, maybe there's another.
Are you about to do mitosis or what's going on?
I just don't
Cell division.
I just don't want to disrespect anyone, so I'm just saying there could be another.
True. Well, to be fair, you probably have more info than probably any other analyst as well.
Probably. But it's not like I got that info from like my magic fairy. I work for that. Everyone can do that. I didn't call the Aladdin and then gods appeared, like in that one Twitter video. And then I whopped God's bald head, and suddenly I was granted all my wishes and became a panda.
And that's why he was called up. That was your payoff, yeah.
I worked for becoming a panda.
You did. It's true. Had to go all the way to the closet to get that. So back to my original question. So there's a lot of mysticism around Overwatch League statistics. And again, a lot of even our guests who've come on the show have gone to sort of say like, we don't really use that, or we don't really like, there aren't really a good set of statistics. But what I heard from you there is that fight-based statistics tend to be the most valuable overall, in the sense of something that you can, it's like I don't know if a baseball analogy, but like baseball, you have a batting average, and it's like the go-to stat to tell if somebody is a good hitter. Do they, and that's a really easy stat to get. But are you telling me that like fight-based statistics are generally the most true?
I would say there's no go-to stat. There's never a go-to stat. That doesn't really exist.
Do you think that we'll ever find one? Because you used to have like an all-encompassing number on Winston's lab, didn't you?
Yeah.
System.
The rating system. Okay, Woki was just staring at me for some reason. I don't know.
So you're telling me is that rating?
The rating system. It was just something to like kind of make my life easier in some ways, because it was a single number and it encompassed a lot of different numbers, like a lot of different numbers, and kind of made initial comparisons. But it wasn't really to find out who's like the best or the second best or whatever. It was to pre-filter what I was looking at, because I don't want to look at the bottom 20% of players, and I can at least find out who is top 80% with that, but it's not accurate enough to say, oh, this guy's the best person in the world. But since there are a lot of players out there, I don't want to look at all of them, because that will take a long time if I have to look at every single step for every single player, like each column in each row. Nah, that's why the rating system existed. That's why I created it. And come here. And
got it.
Yes,
I got it. Okay, I think I get what you're going. All right, so with that kind of,
but yeah. So to come back to the original point, I don't think there will ever be like a single number. It's possible that there's like a couple, like maybe 2 handful of numbers that are really important, or 1 handful. If you might be able to find that out. I don't really have the time to do all that research right now.
Sure.
But that's kind of possible, but I don't think there will be like a go-to number like betting averages, baseball, for example.
If somebody finds that number, would you say that they're the only other person who is worthy of stats in Overwatch like you?
Yes.
Okay.
If that someone is not me myself.
If that someone is not you yourself.
Sir, I have to advise you, the last guy that was very cocky about his statistical analysis, that didn't fare quite well for him.
That is true.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
John had posed you, Tripod had posed a kind of scenario for you, right? There are teams that claim that they aren't really big into stats. They don't utilize stats as much as maybe other teams do. And there's teams that are very public and saying, we lead our team through statistics, and we're very much a statistical team. And that's how we try to do our coaching, and we try to analyze the play. In your ideal world, where should teams actually fall on that spectrum? Should they be one way or the other? Is it situational, or is it the middle ground?
Much like in baseball and in basketball and in every other sport, if you read some kind of statistic books and books about Moneyball and all of that, you will quickly find out that people don't do one thing or the other. That the good teams, the good scouts, the good coaches, they start where they start, which is like eye testing everything, and then they'll use statistics to raise their level, kind of, right? And that's what you should do. You shouldn't do like only statistics. You shouldn't do only eye testing. You should do eye testing, and with statistics, you combine the strength and become Super Saiyan or something, Super Panda. Because statistics are not something you start where you would start. It's just really, you have to know a lot about the game, especially in Overwatch, but in every kind of sport. You have to know a lot about the game to use statistics correctly.
Sure.
And if you know a lot about the game, and you can use statistics to make yourself be even like get more ideas, get a different perspective, get like a different set of a different skill set, kind of, and just add that to your original whatever you were doing, if you were scouting or whatever.
I think a great example of that, to kind of credit you, is like that golden ratio from season 1, where you could tell that flex supports were super, super important, but we couldn't see that the level and the rating of the flex supports were almost identical to how the teams were falling at the time. And that's like, whoa, okay, like we're actually seeing the numbers support the idea that flex supports are really, really good, but they're almost inflating them to a degree that we didn't think it was this accurate.
Yes, and this is what most statistical work I do is basically coming from. It's like I have like some idea, which is some normal coaching idea that any coach would have. It's like, maybe in goats, the Zarya is really important. and then you look at the statistics. Obviously,
not true, by the way.
More complicated stuff like that, because that is obvious, right? But then you look at the numbers and you're like, that is true. Sorry, go ahead.
No, like I remember you had, like as Joe said, the golden ratio, right? I think that's what it was called. And I said on this podcast that I found to be the real golden ratio.
Well, at least this season, the new golden ratio.
Yeah. And maybe you don't have to comment on the specifics of that, but maybe you have another model in mind that comes close. Like, it's not gameplay specific for me. It's how much has a team invested in their roster and in their coaching staff. So if you look at the top 5, they're all like well-staffed, have fat player contracts, have a lot of players, keep them around, have academy teams. And with that, it sort of elevates them over the guys that don't have much of these or don't check all the boxes, and then are therefore lower. Now, I don't want to force you to comment on the state of your financial situation, but do you think that is accurate in general? And do you maybe have another one of these golden ratios that you just like see in maybe more gameplay?
I think that is accurate. I think that is accurate, and it makes a lot of sense. There are outliers, I think, and that just comes from
yes,
some people not knowing what they are doing. But
yes,
for the most part, I think that's very accurate. And if you would actually be able to look at all the numbers, look at all the salaries and stuff, look at all the buyout money, then I think you would quickly find out that this is 100% true. And when it comes to gameplay, I think there is something else I have, but I can't share it because I'm not the old Barroi. I can't just share all my work anymore.
Okay.
Because I have a contract saying that I can't do that.
Okay.
You get the boo, by the way.
It's
okay. It's okay, by the way. We very much, before the show, we even told Barroi, like, we're going to ask you questions. If you can't answer them, don't answer them.
Sure.
And we don't expect you to answer questions you can't.
I think there's a lot more stuff to be explored. There's a lot more stuff to be found that people just don't find because it is very hard to put in the work. That's why I think there's only one or maybe 2 or 3 people who are able to do this kind of work. As Tripod said, there's like less than a third of the teams have analysts even, and or someone in the role of analyst. And I think that just speaks all the volume. It's very hard to do that kind of work, and it's very hard to be good enough at knowing the game and knowing how to use statistics to find those kind of ratios, find those kind of secret hidden formulas. There were only a couple I found over the last years, so only a couple of those secret formulas, but I think there's a lot more to be found. Yeah.
So what about? So do you find then, based on just your level of knowledge and statistics and stuff, would you say that your role is pretty unique compared to other analysts in the Overwatch League?
No. I don't think it's very unique. So I find those kind of things because I'm trying out a lot. So if you see me finding something, then you can be sure that I tried out 100 different other ways and they all failed. A lot of the work that I did when I was just doing Winston's lab was never out there because it just failed. It never got to anything. I tried to one path and it led into a dark forest that I quickly ran out of.
Can you say like one thing that you recently tried but was proven false?
I think. Oh my god. So
there's probably somebody.
Let me try to.
If not, it's not.
I try to remember. Normally I quickly forget because it's really if I so what I do is I get like an idea, I see something in the game, and I'm like, oh, is there something that could lead to like a great new statistic, something that is like a great indicator for the game or whatever. And then I implement all the stats and look at it, and it takes a lot of time, by the way. And then I quickly see, oh fuck, it's nothing. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't have any meaning. So I'm like, okay, whatever, and I just forget about it. But
anything with Zarya, I would imagine probably the most one of the more important heroes.
Map pack and armor pack stuff, or
I'm trying to. There was one really like kind of general thing. I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
can't
Yeah,
remember
it's
it.
really
But there's a
interesting
lot
though.
of those. There's a lot of those things where you just try and it doesn't lead to anything. And I think that's where a lot of people fail because like that's why there's only me and maybe someone I don't know. Someone I don't know that is doing the same. But
Sure.
it's like you're doing something and you fail 10 times and you're like, oh, I can't do statistics. Just it doesn't work.
So,
But if you do it 100 times, maybe you get lucky and
yeah.
find something.
So do you think then, so you kind of pose this scenario where there maybe aren't very many people in the competitive Overwatch community at all capable of bringing meaningful like statistical analysis to Overwatch and Overwatch League? Do you think the teams then, because like we said, less than a third actually have dedicated analysts to their thing? Do you think that those teams that aren't adding dedicated analysts are making a mistake by not doing that, or do they know that the level of expertise they need just isn't in the market right now?
I don't think they make a mistake because I don't know if I should say. Okay, just to be, I don't want to be bragging, but I think so. They don't make a mistake because I got a lot of offers before the season started. So people try to find those kind of people. So teams try to find those kind of people who can do it. And if they can't find it because there aren't a lot of those people out there, then there's nothing they can do. I don't think that the teams make a mistake themselves. It's just like the ratio of how do you call that in English? God,
Describe it.
Give me the German word. That's our German word.
Help me out. So Angebot und Nachfrage.
Like the demand and
supply and demand.
Supply and demand. It just doesn't. It's like demand and supply. And it's like okay, you can't do anything about that. Like you have to get the supply up there. But how do you do that? You can't just be a team and spend like $1 million onto someone who does the same thing in baseball because they won't come over to Overwatch, something completely new. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It really will. It will take years for the supply to get up there. I don't think it's the teams that are making a mistake.
Do you think that people need actual like, because you have a degree in statistics or like some sort of statistic based?
No, I don't have a degree.
Don't you have like a degree in like a statistics based field?
I am very close to having degrees.
Degrees? Okay.
Yes, but I dropped out of university because esports money.
Fair enough. But you at least pursued it. You studied it.
I could get a degree if I wanted to next year, but I probably won't.
He just doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You got the necessary info that you needed.
So yeah, you don't even need a degree, apparently.
Apparently.
That's what I'm saying. You just have
sign up today, kids.
That's what I'm gonna say in my next my next interview with.
You should not drop out of college like me. I only dropped out of university because I could, because I got the opportunity, opportunities. I'm a lucky guy, so. But you have to just like dedicate yourself. That's all in life, right? Okay, let's come on. Let's do some life motivation stuff. So, all in life, there is no talent. There is no person that is better than you at anything naturally. You just have to practice and learn and practice and do it some more, and then you'll become the best at it over time.
Now let me ask you this: how many times have you said that to Roki?
You wouldn't understand half of what I said.
How often have you thought this standing in front of the cupboard trying to reach something very far up and where you have to get a chair thinking, a normal sized person would have gotten this without a chair? If I just tried hard enough, there's no talent. I could have grown.
That's why
it's not. Wait, what is the difference? There's Darwinian, and then there's not Laplace. That was something about probability.
Hospital.
There's this other theory of this guy that said, "Oh yeah, it's not an evolution. It's because the giraffe needs to get up there. Its neck grows." It's like,
yeah. So
Lamarck, yes, very good,
Mark. Okay.
very good.
Bunch of
Uh,
nerds.
So since you got to that point, since I know I'm a very small person, I joined a team with very small people, a Korean team. So I can feel.
So you take each other on the shoulders and put on panda costumes and pass off as one person? Great.
There you go. This is how we reach.
You know what I
this is
told
how
you
we
about?
reach up there.
You know what I told you about organisms riding on top of each other and like becoming one? And
I think I need
do
to
you remember
corral this
penguins,
conversation
the
in.
queen?
We need to corral this conversation
Yes, I remember
in
that.
right now. We're not going there.
This is one of the glorious moments. Sometimes I think we should just like stream what we do in our secret Discord.
Yeah.
And everyone.
No.
I'm unemployable all the time.
People aren't ready for that. Yeah, nobody's ready for that.
That's the green room. You don't.
Yeah, what happens in that Discord stays in that Discord.
It stays
for sure. We've done a really good job, I would
Yeah.
say, of not, because there's a lot of stuff that gets posted
Yeah.
in there that I haven't seen get posted anywhere else.
Yeah.
Now everyone's
Long
going to
story
be trying to getting in. I do have some questions for you about the Toronto Defiant. What can you tell us about how the Toronto Defiant roster came together and what you contributed to the final roster being what it is?
The initial roster or the roster now? Or everything?
Yes.
Okay. So so the initial roster, it was like it was just like, I think we started out with having an idea of how we want to structure the roster. So it was like, first of all, the organization Spice hired Bishop, and then they hired the assistant coaches, which were Yunho, Bubbly, and Dongwook, Don, and Dennis, Barroi. So
I like how you referred to yourself in the third person.
So
All right.
first those four came together, and then we kind of got like an idea of how we want to structure a roster, which is very much like I always talked about rosters when I was in Winston's lab, so I can share that information, which is like you want to have an aggressive or you want to have like an aggressive flex support if possible, and one or two aggressive tank players. And then you want to have at most one aggressive DPS, but not two. You want to have a passive DPS and maybe an aggressive DPS, but you don't really want to have star player power in your DPS role in terms of making plays and all of that. You really want to kind of players that are just like sitting in the back and doing consistent damage all the time. This was the kind of idea, and then we started structuring the roster. There were obviously budget constraints, like every other team has them. We started out with kind of filling our tank slots and going from there, because this is probably the most important part when it comes to a team. You want to have like a kind of leadership within the tank role. You want to have a strong flex support, which we got. We got one of the best 3 flex supports from season 1.
Yes.
And so we basically had an idea to structure our roster, and I think my part in this was as big as the part of the other coach. It was like we all had our says, and we all, when it came to trialing players, we all had like our opinions, and then some were the same and some were different, and we figured it out.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to disagree with you with all your stats that you threw at me. If I am a coach in a room and I bring in an analyst and brings in all these stats, I don't know how you disagree with that.
Well,
that brings up a pretty interesting point, because I think when you were on Oversight, you and BZ had talked about this. It's like, how do you take a stat and bring it to the coaching staff or your fellow coaches and say, hey, this is important, we should look at this, and convince them and the players like, hey, this is important, we should try to do this? Like, how does that kind of work? Do you find it difficult? Is it actually a problem, or is it pretty easy to just go, hey, Bishop, like, here's my report, do this?
For me, it's very easy
Mm.
because Bishop trusts me. He trusts every one of the coaches. So there's not like anything that there's not like a big barrier that I have to cross, right? So if I have something that I'm really convinced about, I can bring it to him, and he's probably going to be like, "Oh, wow!" And then we kind of try to implement that. But in theory, yeah. So what it was like for me when I was doing Winston's lab and working with a bunch of teams just from the back in the shadows, is it's kind of difficult because you can't use statistical terms anymore. You have to use Overwatch terms. You have to use like terms that everyone understands. So you have to take a concept and make it easy to understand. Like the thing that Yiska said, the golden ratio. In the end, it's easy to understand. Flex supports are the most important players, or were the most important players in season 1, and probably still are. But to get to that point, you have to kind of jump that hurdle of making it easy to understand, which is not an easy task. If you come from like purely statistics, you look at all those numbers and you're like, oh, I figured it all out. And then you're like, how do I say that? There have to be two brilliant moments, right? The one where you figure it all out, and the second one where you're like, I actually can articulate it.
That's really interesting. All right, I have to ask a hard question here. And I don't want to, because I consider you a friend. But I have to ask it anyway. So you say all this great stuff about how, statistics are so important. Toronto comes out and...
Oh, they are not super important.
Well, and so that's interesting. I'm pinning that for another question. But I can't remember where we had Toronto in the power rankings, but I don't think it was quite in the playoffs. I don't think it was in the playoffs, and I think you gave us a word or two about that.
I think we all had them in the play-ins, not in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were pretty close though. They were like, I want to say like 10 through 13 is kind of where we put them. So obviously blew our expectations away in stage 1, 5-2. Great job. Awesome. We go into stage 2 and then we see a 2-5 Toronto Defiant. Yeah, exactly. So I got to ask you then, what in your mind, what happened between such an incredible overachieving stage 1 where people were kind of talking about, is this a team that can, as they continue to mesh together, push that upper echelon into, even the top 6, 5, and 4 of Overwatch League. And then in stage 2, go to 2-5, and people are kind of then back to like, what should we expect from Toronto Defiant?
I pretty much think that you really have to look at those things in a different way, because it's 2 different stages, and I think you have to look at it as if it's 2 different tournaments. Because I think we really did a great job at constructing this team. I think we were the 4th best team easily in stage 1. Maybe even the 3rd best team, who knows? But what happened from stage 1 to stage 2 is that kind of mentality changed, and it's a lot of intangibles. It's not like player skill deteriorated or anything, right? It's that maybe for some players the stress got to them, which is understandable. Or for other players, it's like they kind of hit the ceiling where they don't really want to. They don't really feel like it's worth it anymore to do all of that. Practice.
Like Stella, right?
Yeah, it's like for him, for example, I'm very happy for him now, because it was the right decision to kind of leave the pro life, because that wasn't for him. I think he would have just collapsed if he stayed for another stage or 2. This guy would have had like mental breakdowns or whatever. It's not as bad, but you could see that there's a lot of. It's not just being good at the game in Overwatch or in sport. There's a lot of intangibles that come to it, and I think with Stella kind of leaving, a lot of the team morale was kind of hurt a little bit, and then it just crumbled a little bit from there. So while I think we did a great job with building the team, I think the intangibles hit us, and in stage 2, it's like a lot of different things that you can't really foresee, I think, necessarily were happening.
That makes a lot of sense about Stella. It's like, if you want to have an analogy, it's like, in a zombie apocalypse, everyone's just like, okay, keep running. And as soon as someone just says, okay, I'm done, sit down,
yes,
that becomes an option in other people's minds. Like, is it worth it?
That is a great analogy, yeah.
Is the existence that we're living here, is that worth it? And of course, once again, like, the torment of that entire situation is definitely severe, but then it's also a very real opportunity to just say it's not worth it anymore, right? And it's of course much easier than to say, okay, let me sit down, let these zombies eat me. It's not as bad, right? But in general, it's definitely interesting to see that once this idea is established that this is possible, that this certainly it does. I think theoretically it doesn't have to necessarily long term completely like negatively impact the team, but it definitely rips open the wound, and then you have to see how you fix it, right?
It's like when you watch those hero anime or movies or whatever, and you're like, and the hero at the mid of the in the middle of the movie, he becomes like, he doubts himself, and he's like, oh fuck, should I really do that? And you sit there as if I always sit there and I'm like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. You're just like the strongest person in the world, and you have some superpower, and you could just destroy every bad guy and stuff. Why do you doubt yourself? But if you're actually in that situation, you might just doubt yourself. You might just think, oh, am I doing the right thing? Should I change my life right now? Do I really want to do that? And then,
did you have that?
No, I didn't.
Do you
never doubted himself for a second?
So do you articulate your statistics through anime metaphors?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Simple,
get it.
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
It's like an anime. Is basically so when people say Overwatch League is like an anime, it's confirmed.
I'm saying Overwatch League isn't like an anime. Overwatch League is like a whole anime season.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many different animes bunched together, and you're like, should I watch the fucking hentai? Or no, that's actually a bad idea. He'll get banned again. And then you're like, oh no, there's a slice of life bus driver anime coming out. Oh, whoa, what happened to the bus driver? He got banned. He got kicked from the team. There's so many different animes going on, and you're like, whoa, what is actually the hero anime? What's the one that I want to watch? That is
each player is its own anime.
Dang,
yes,
we're going deep here. So
then there's those weird guys, right?
Yeah,
those weird panda animes.
Wearing just panda hoods walking around.
We all have coping mechanisms. We heard, like, Hayes, I think, on Twitter said when he has stress during Overwatch League, he bites nails. Barroi is just like, I'll just pretend to be a panda.
I am not kidding you with what I'm saying in a second. When I am stressed out and when our team did really badly in stage 2, what I would do before the scrims to calm me down is go onto Weibo, the best social media site there is. It's Chinese. It's like Chinese Twitter. And what I would do is watch Panda videos for half an hour. And then I would be happy.
Oh man. This is close to psychosis.
I know. This is why we don't open up this. This is why we don't open up the Discord. It's not because we're leaking stuff all the time. It's because you have to weed through this all the time. So, all right. Next question for you here. So, Did you just panda dab on us? All right. Is it a pandab?
It's a Panda mouse pad.
It's whatever you want it to be.
So you guys have made two moves for the off season, or
Yes.
the mid stage whatever break kind of thing. Bringing in Gods and Sherrick, both from Montreal Rebellion, your academy team.
Yeah.
How do you think that these guys are going to fit in to the roster? Are we back to 5-2 Toronto Defiant?
That's a good question. So what we wanted to get for our roster is leadership. We wanted some great new leadership coming into the roster, because it's kind of hard to find that in Koreans. Just because of the culture, it's very like hierarchical, right? You just follow whatever your boss says. That's simple terms, but and I probably can't explain it very well because I'm not Korean. But what we wanted is leadership, so we kind of looked at our academy team, because they did really well all of a sudden after they did was the move, and they were probably one of the best teams in North America. And we found that there is leadership in our academy team, and it might just help to bring on those players that have leadership abilities to fix our team. And because Bishop, our head coach, knows Gods from Cloud9 days, he also confirmed that Gods has kind of this leadership mentality. He would take responsibility for what he does, whether it's bad or good, and we kind of felt like this is what the team needs. And we also thought that Sherrick and Sherrick with Gods, they both have like this kind of synergy already together, and they both have those abilities to bring those kind of intangibles that we needed very badly to the team. At least that's what we hope going into stage 3. I can't say if it's going to work or not, because obviously there's more stuff with just you can't just bring in 2 new players. Even if those were Korean, it wouldn't be like a from now to then everything is great kind of solution. You have to build new synergy, and now we have to communicate in English, which isn't easy for some of the players. Fortunately enough, 8, Neko, and Jin all can speak English very well, or good enough. Neko and 8 all both played on mixed rosters already.
So
And
are you
Jin
saying that you
obviously-
were speaking in Korean for callouts in the past, and now you're going to be switching to English for stage 3?
Yes. We are going to switch to English. Sometimes the players communicate in Korean, with the Korean players at least, at least right now still, if there's something they want to communicate quickly between the Korean players, then they'll say it in Korean. But the plan is to have it all get into English, and we have to see how that goes, because it's completely different from what it was in the past. Some players have to learn the language. Yeah. We will. I don't think that it will be like something that fixes a team immediately. It will probably take a lot of time, couple of weeks, like maybe 5 or 6 weeks for some players to get up there in the communication level, and then to have that all synergize. But we'll see. Let's see how it works out.
So optimistic, the perfect stage 3. Is this a team that we see go to playoffs?
The perfect
schedule
stage
like?
3. I think we play a couple of big names. London,
Paris,
Houston, Guangzhou,
Guangzhou.
Reign, Spitfire, Gladiators, and Excelsior. Off the top of my head, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a potential 4-3, right?
Yes, it's.
I mean, it's London. It's actually, you can even have one
Sure.
off there.
It's going to be very rough to make playoffs, obviously, considering that we are kind of a new team.
It is kind of tough, though. I mean, you guys, it's not
Yeah.
also. You have Gladiators, Excelsior, you've got
It
Spitfire.
is tough. It is going to be hard. In the perfect world, we do it. it will be close even in the perfect world, but we can do it.
But
And-
if everything goes to your expectations,
Yeah,
4-3.
that would be the number one thing. If there's one thing you have to do is to stay optimistic, right? So you have to stay optimistic. You have to stay hype, and then we can do anything.
Speaking of hype is against you probably in that homestand game, right? Because you're playing the first homestand for Atlanta Reign ever.
Yes.
Right?
We are
In
playing
terms
the
of
first.
fans, I think Atlanta Reign is not doing badly. Like, especially t-shirt sales and whatever. Like, I think that is going to be
It's really
pretty
important.
similar to Dallas.
Do you have a statistic somewhere on merch sales to performance?
No.
Is that a thing? Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have, but I know that Defiant had like the most sold jerseys when he was still in the league. And
now
Baby
it's back
Bay,
to Joe, like all is fine in the world.
Baby Bay is top 5, I think. By the way, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that's going to be rough. We will have the crowd against us, but I think that's good for us. I think so. What we lost between stage 1 and stage 2 is also this kind of underdog mentality, because no one was like counting on us in stage 1. Right, so everyone was like, "Oh, we can just prove them all wrong. We can just prove all those analysts wrong and just show them that we are top 4 team in the world." Even though we just came out of contenders, most of the players just came fresh out of contenders. We are actually up there, and we kind of lost it in stage 2 because it's like, "Oh, look at us, we are top 4. Just look at us." And now we are back to no one expects anything, so we can just prove them all wrong. So maybe that's good for us if we have like the crowd cheering against us. We have Atlanta and New York, I think, in the homestand, and New York will definitely have a bigger fan pool there as well. So
yeah,
that's going to be cool.
To be fair, your team strikes me as like. So if I look at your results, I think you generally beat the teams you should. Is that fair? Like playing Boston close, okay, that's not a problem for me.
That's
like
unfortunate.
3-2, especially Game 5 against Boston, right?
That game was tough for me.
Fusion, okay, you can lose that. I think you're like realistically probably just in projections a little bit lower than Fusion.
In stage 1, we would have destroyed them, by the way.
Very possible, definitely. And then, okay, you play Shock. Okay. And you win against Eternal and you lose against Titans, right? That's very expected. And also in stage 1, I think the match. Okay, you lost against the Reign, so that's a rematch. But then you also lost against New York, so that's
we lost
once
against
again
Reign without Necro. That's always the case.
Yes,
New York
again,
also
right?
lost against Reign, for what it's worth.
So at least it feels like based on. Okay, this might sound a little dickish to you saying that to your face, but based on your talent level in the team and where you should be, I think you rarely underachieve, and that is certainly something that speaks for solid coaching, I think.
We don't pull any
Well,
punches.
that was a compliment. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's about how our Discord works too. Honesty
It's
all
just
the way
people
through.
insulting each other.
Yeah,
all
it's
the
just
time.
people insulting each other, but then you're like, actually, that's a compliment. Joke's on you. All right.
Wow, thank you.
Yiska, Joe, any other questions for Barroi here before we maybe hop into some PvP?
We could go over the Twitter stuff if we haven't already.
We do. So
Sure.
we've got a few questions I want to do at the end, but I also want to do PvP.
I did want to ask you one quick thing about scouting. You talk about how your day-to-day is crammed. You work 10 to 12 hours a day, and your days off are spent preparing, and you don't have much time to yourself. How do you scout? How do teams scout? Where are the scouts? Do we need scouts? Is there room for scouts to come up in the scene in general?
Yes.
Is there kind of a third-party
There is
way?
a lot of goodbye.
All right, we're gonna see
probably-
Yiska later.
Oh, there we go. So
Sorry.
there is a lot of opportunity for scouts because I think I might just be the best scout in Overwatch right now. For the last 2 years, maybe. I don't want to say this as like a set point. I don't want to, because I'm very unsure about that. But because I built a lot of teams in the last few years,
Sure.
I think that I'm very unique in that kind of sense, because most people were just like staying with one team and scouting for them. And I think that those kind of scouts also didn't really do the scout work that normal scouts in sports do, because I think what we are missing right now in Overwatch is having people actually scout, which is like you go to the team house and you of whatever, a contenders team, and you write down, oh, this guy, you don't write down like, oh, he does so much damage, he has gold damage every fucking match. No, what you have to scout, what we desperately need in a lot of cases is, oh, he has good mentality. Does he have leadership ability? How well does he communicate in the game? Is he an introvert or an extrovert? What are his other personality traits? Like, those are the kind of things that scouts do in normal sports. Again, if you read books about that, you will quickly learn that. And that's the stuff that we desperately need right now, because so much time is wasted on finding out all of that by every coach when you're trialing players. That because those things are important. Those things are very important. It's like it doesn't have anything to do with the game, like almost nothing. But like, how much dedication does it give to training, to practice? That's stuff that you don't know from watching the game. You have to go there and find out. And we desperately need that in Overwatch. There's a lot of things that can be done.
So I was going to say, I do find that really interesting, because I did get a minor in statistics in college. So like,
there we go.
Yeah, so I'm like enough to basically know what they all mean, but not so much to know like how to make them myself. Is basically how it works. But something that I learned from, because I took a lot of classes with statistics majors, is I would say one of their biggest opportunities were that when something came out for judgment outside of numbers, they weren't very strong. Do you feel like that makes you uniquely talented in the sense that you can quantify so many different stats and things, but you're also able to qualify based on non-tangibles? Like, you can't really assign a number. Like, you could assign a number to leadership ability, and you probably do. But I mean, like, overall, it's less. It takes a special person to be able to go, I recognize leadership ability, and I recognize it to a level that I feel like I can comfortably assign a number and be successful.
Yes, and I think I'm not necessarily that person. I have very limited experience in finding out a bunch of that stuff. I do have. Well, the problem is, if since I scouted a lot for like Korean teams in the past, there's also the language barrier for me, right? So it's not necessarily easy for me to find that stuff out, but that is not something that is like just me. I think everyone can do that. Everyone who's like good at or knows how to socialize with people will be able to do that kind of stuff. You should be able, like, after a couple of months of doing that, you'll just become good at it. You just become good at kind of seeing what you're trying to see, because you will have seen people who are good at leading. You will have seen people who are very shy personalities, and after a while you will be able to quantify all of those different things. And if you can actually write it down in numbers, that's what people do in baseball nowadays. To kind of, they use statistics in baseball like like you would use statistics in Overwatch, but then they would also quantify intangibles like leadership ability, dedication to practice, personality traits, different kind of personality traits, and scale them from like whatever their scale is, from 1 to 100 or something, and then use both of those sides, intangibles and tangibles, and bring them together. And I'm not really doing that myself, only to a limited degree. And I think that is something that everyone kind of can do. It's just no one really does it. And there's maybe not enough time right now for anyone to do it.
The really interesting insight, by the way. The follow-up question I had is, you did say something that you had helped form a lot of successful other Overwatch teams. Any teams that you can kind of tell us about for those who maybe who don't know?
No.
Okay, not even in the past. You're not
No,
like
I can't.
Envy. All right, fair
I
enough.
can't say any teams.
All right, figured it was
Sorry.
a shot. All right. Any other questions for you guys before we go into a little PvP and we take some questions from Twitch chat? Going a little long today. Hope you guys don't mind, but it's good. We're at about an hour 20. We did the same thing with Mineral. It just went a little long. Had a little fun.
Now
with
we
it.
should go another hour and 20.
Dude, if you're here and down, as long as you keep bringing the leaks, we'll go all on. Give me another no answer though. That's strike 3. Nothing.
I mean, if you ask
I'm
me
here for it.
If you ask me to dance in a panda costume, that's definitely a yes.
Yeah, so I need whoever's the winner of PvP, I need you to dance in the panda costume with like a sign that says Yiska or Volamel. That's what I need.
That is actually great.
All
That
right.
is actually perfect.
All right. We'll plan that. So we're gonna go into is China a lost cause, Barroi? We're gonna banter. That's a good question. We're going to. Can someone put that in the show notes for me, please? I don't have it open. We're gonna talk about some PvP. So we recently did a segment called PvP, or player versus player. The idea is pretty simple. Yiska likes to argue. Joe's the most wholesome person in the world. Why not make them argue over something for internet points? We're going to do that, but we have a special guest judge today, and that's going to be Barroi. Barroi is going to, is going to judge in his mind who won the round. I'm also going to post some links to a straw poll so that you can actually vote yourself for who you think won or lost the round.
Wait,
Very
so
simple.
help me out here. Is this Yiska? And
So
this is Joe?
other way around.
This is Joe.
Yep.
This way. And this is Yiska?
Bingo.
Okay, I got it.
All right. So yeah, it's kind of a play on like around the horn, other things like that. So we're going to go through 3 topics. Each person is going to get 60 seconds to kind of make their stand. I might give them a little more or a little less time based on the points that they're making. And we'll see who comes out the winner, and the winner will get a dancing Barroi. Is basically that's the prize for this week, is a dancing
background.
It's a dancing Brit. Now this is a graphic, way easier to make than the other ones, by the way. So yeah, sound good, Barroi? Do you have any questions? Because you're the guest judge
for the PvP.
For PvP.
So like questions that they have to argue about.
No. We've already pre-planned the questions. So here are the 3 questions. Question number 1 is: are the Toronto moves that's bringing up Gods and Sherrick good? Question number 2 is: should Overwatch League introduce balance patches mid-stage? And question number 3 is: should Overwatch League force franchises to field an academy team? Those are the 3 that you're going to have to judge.
Okay.
And it isn't necessarily like a big part of it is, yes, who do you think has the best answer? But it's not the best answer.
I will judge on the argument. I don't care about the answer.
Yeah, exactly. So, have fun with it. Be good. Chat, I'm going to post straw polls after that is done.
Nice.
After each round is done, so that you can vote yourself. But let's go ahead. And what we're going to do, question number 1 is: are the Toronto moves good? And I forget I'm going to just have Joe. Who won last time? Yiska did, right? So Joe, you get the opportunity of going first. So we're going to go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1.
Our good friend, Mr. Panda Man, brought up the old adage of being the underdog. And I think Toronto are definitely the underdog because I am not a big fan of these moves. I think if you're making big mid-season changes, I wouldn't suggest adding in a whole new language, trying to take your Korean players that you have scouted. You're taking Neko. Yes, he's played on a Western team before, but is it going to be as easy for him to communicate than it would have been to add in more Korean players? You're bringing in Gods. He's been around the block for a long time. Haven't been super impressed. Sherrick, on the other hand, solid player, we'll have to say. Quite liked him in any contenders. For the most part, this is a huge change. It's going to take you a good amount of time to actually gel and get used to the calling structure. Granted, the schedule is a little bit shifty. For the most part, this is a huge move in the middle of a season. I can't necessarily get behind it. I think it's going to be a kind of work in progress. So I'm not a big fan. I would have went with Koreans.
Wow, you really timed that. That was really good.
Wow.
Dang. Bonus point +1 for Joe for timing that correctly, which is actually the hardest part about this whole thing. So let's go on to Yiska's rebuttal. Are the Toronto Defiant moves, Gods and Sherrick, good?
I think so, simply because as we outlined the argument last time, like split or hybrid roster or mixed rosters, however you want to call them, are the future. I think the amount of talent that you may be able to get from these specific regions is just bigger. It increases also the value that each individual player has, because he then can play in different systems. I will also say, like, the language thing, it's not just Neko that is able to play in these hybrid rosters. It's also that Gods has proven to work in hybrid rosters as like C9 back in the day, right? So then you take on the other players that, like, I think the only one that really has an issue would be Roki, right? And I think generally as a language teacher, I think you can teach serviceable English in a fairly short amount of time. Also, big break now. If you're not doing it now, you're not going to do the season. So I like the time. I also assume this was decided a little bit before we got to know it. So if they've been able to work with that in some way.
All right. That was it. All right. So I'm going to post the straw poll in here. So chat, you guys can start voting now.
I feel like the person who goes second has such a big advantage because you can counter all the points.
Yeah, this is a very serious game, Barroi. Like, here's the thing, man. Maybe we waited 35 episodes.
That's why
because you don't understand tactical crouch. Yeah, so whoever loses, so whoever wins the first round goes first the second round. So it's kind of that. So the person who won last time gets the advantage.
Okay.
All right.
So
I don't know if that's too statistically complex for you with how that works, but so that's roughly how it works. I'm interested to see what chat says here.
Damn, this is so hard to judge.
So right now, Yiska is ahead 64-36. Barroi, though, who do you agree with?
Well, cannot.
So who wins?
I cannot go on the answer.
Yeah. So who wins the round? And tell us why.
In terms of just the argument.
In terms of whatever criteria you make up.
I think Yiska wins here because he basically took whatever Joe said and he took what Joe said and then he was like, that doesn't count. That is obsolete in 2 months. That is like not really valid. It's like, whoa. He just took every single step and he just destroyed
I lawyered
Joe.
him.
He destroyed Joe.
And you get to
Joe, you're destroyed.
It's a tactical crouch trope.
Yeah,
it's a technical crouch trope at this point.
Yeah, and you're not. So the nice thing is too is you're not in trouble with your team for being like, no, those moves f***ing suck. I'm the best analyst in Overwatch League. Yeah, you can't do that, really, can you? So Yiska lucked out on getting the affirmative on that one. So 1 point for Yiska, and the chat is very much in agreement. 11 votes for Yiska, 4 votes for Volamel. Joe, you didn't have a good time on this one, but you also
We will just have to see.
You also chose the topic, so like it's like half your fault. So
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
choose the maps, dude. What are you doing? Pick some good maps for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's rough.
Anyways, did he talk about why Winston's lab is dead yet? Because he's full time in Overwatch League. You're welcome. All right, we're gonna go to question number 2. Yiska up 1-0. Question is, should Overwatch League introduce balance patches mid-stage? Yiska, you're going to be going up first on this one. 1 minute on the clock starting now.
No, I would even go as far as to say they shouldn't introduce balance patches. Let's say mid-season now, I wouldn't be as opposed to it. Otherwise, I would say straight up, no, they shouldn't introduce any. Because the competitive integrity of the selection process is really hurt. Let's say, for instance, that stage 4, once again, is a different meta like last year. You are selecting teams through the regular season that then come into playoffs and potentially underperform because they're not accustomed to the new meta. So what does that give us? Terrible playoffs. What can we do against that? Not much. Like, the play-in tournaments do help in this regard. And they are probably not enough to alleviate that problem much, because the quality of those teams, no offense, Barroi, will probably not meet one of the top teams. So based on seeding, we're just going to see storms for this first couple of play days in playoffs consistently, because the different patches require this different skill.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yiska saying no.
Yeah.
Overwatch League should not introduce balance changes during mid-patch or mid-stage. All right, Joe, you got your chance here. Even up the score. Should Overwatch League introduce balance patches mid-stage?
Of course they have to. Nobody likes goats. We've seen through the World Cup voting that everybody needs DPS players. We need to have those DPS picks to get those viewers. I don't know if you've seen the average Overwatch League viewer. You know, the Shanghai Dragons, they literally didn't win a single game in Season 1, and they have some of the most biased, crazy, fervent fans in the entire league. It doesn't matter about the competitive integrity, Yiska. This is the WWE. We want to see people diving off of steel cages and bleeding everywhere. It has to be an entertainment. This isn't competitive anymore. This is about DPS play. We have to play dive. We have to play triple DPS. That's what the people want to see. I'm saying give the people what they want. Give them the DPS.
That wine didn't make it better, mate. Oh my god.
Okay, this is 100% win for Joe right now. This is the best fucking argument I've ever seen.
Yes.
I think there's no doubt. There's no doubt Joe wins this. Come on. There can't.
All out of
There
wine.
has to be
All out of wine.
All out of wine. Do you need a second to go get some more? Or are you
I
good?
could. Wait.
All right.
And he's gone.
Oh,
He's going. In the meantime, in Twitch chat, you are able to vote.
You don't need to vote.
10%.
There's no necessary.
Or sorry,
there's only one option.
79% in favor of Volamel on this one. Overwatch League should introduce balance patches mid-stage. To sum it up, Sam Hari says yes, because DPS.
I know what the people want.
All right, man. Well, here's the thing. He just went straight from the bottle.
Of course.
See, he understands.
That depression.
Yiska's a master of the entertainment.
Is
He's
that a
pouring
German
drinks on the
thing?
floor. He's pulling props out. That's what the Overwatch League needs to do.
Oh,
They need to
man.
get more Chengdu Hunters. They need to do the Brenji, you know, just sign Bren to a team.
All
Give
right.
give a team a signing bonus. Just sign him to a team. People will love that stuff.
All right, yes.
They could see me self-harm if they do that. No problem. I could also absolutely clown during the breaks, and we have actual competition. I make that sacrifice. I'll be there
See, he talks all this
do
big
vast
game
things.
about competitive integrity. He wants to dress up like a clown to entertain you, okay?
It's
Don't
true,
let him
yeah.
fool you. It's a facade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thinks too much when he tweets is basically all I've learned about Yiska since doing the show with him is that he just thinks too much before he posts anything publicly. Because once you get him on the spot and he has to say something that comes to his head right then and there, it's just trash.
True.
All right.
And likely not very politically correct.
Or appropriate.
Here's the thing though. Yiska, you won last week and we're tied 1-1, which means that I'm gonna make you go first for this third round.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine. This is actually, I think, the best question we've had in PvP so far. It's a really interesting one. Question is, should Overwatch League force franchises to field their own academy team? This is going to be a good one. Yiska, you're going first. You've got 1 minute on the clock. Go ahead now.
In my opinion, no. Simply because fools need to be allowed to make their own mistakes. For instance, Valiant had a pretty terrible time, I think, also in part because they didn't have a contenders team. They could have had the second roster, for instance, playing contenders this season. They didn't take that opportunity. That is fine. I want more distinguishing factors in terms of what makes a good Overwatch League team and a bad one, and that academy roster is part of that system. And I want systems to compete against each other, because if I already have to believe in these made-up brands, then I also want to see them work for it, right? I want to see what these brands have. And for instance, for like if that's voluntary, it has a different feel. Boston, for instance, has a very good academy team in that regard, and in the way that they field them, sell them, this is part of the story of it all. Also, I think third-party clan or organizations are very good for the system.
All right. There it is, bro. It's got a smirk on its face. He's got a smirk. I have a feeling he knows where he's voting. He's made up his mind. We got typing going on. Yiska's just, I don't know, memeing somewhere else.
No, I'm actually half a bottle of wine down, and I'm feeling it slowly. I should have plopped this. I even have grape juice here. Didn't think this through.
All right, here we go. Joe, Yiska says that no, Overwatch League teams should not force Overwatch League franchises to field an academy team. Let's hear what you've got to say.
Again, you have to think of the kids. Who's going to grow up eating their Lucio O's, playing with their Bastion Lego toys, and adventuring into becoming an Overwatch League pro if Contenders doesn't exist? If we don't force these teams and we have to make considerable changes to the financial structure to be able to support this, but every team should have an academy roster for their own sake, for the league's sake, for the kids' sakes. You got to think of the kids. You got to think of the next generation coming up. You don't get the who are yous, you don't get the leaves, you don't get the
As a
Yakis.
teacher, fuck kids.
You don't get those kids coming up that are incredibly talented. Yiska, have we seen the best Overwatch League yet? No, because it's going to happen next season when all those crazy generational talents are coming into the league. We don't get them if Contenders doesn't exist for the next season. And
now I don't know if you drank the bottle of wine.
I may have. Maybe it's going somewhere else.
Not the best timing, but still all right. Fairly good. All right. So the question was, should Overwatch League be forced, or should Overwatch League force franchises
Right? Didn't both answer yes?
to field an academy team?
Okay.
No, I said no.
Yiska said no. Joe
For
said
semantic
yes.
reasons. I stood for the kids.
Okay.
Joe said yes for the kid. Barroi, where are you landing here?
Oh, I think it's fairly obvious. I think
The winner is going to be
Joe has this one. I think
Joe!
Joe has this one. I think there's no real reason to vote for Yiska. Yiska even violated the rules by counterpointing arguments. By countering arguments when Joe was speaking.
It's true.
He said something that I won't repeat on the show. in public.
What was that?
I don't know.
He
But-
was disparaging the children.
But I felt like Yiska's arguments were kind of weak, so Joe has to win here.
All right. So let's take a look at how we're doing. So first of all, Joe, congratulations. You are the second ever PvP champion. You get 30 seconds for a victory speech. Have fun.
Okay.
I get 30 seconds. Go watch China, guys. You should go check out China. Chinese contender.
Okay, wait.
You did this. You did this, Barroi.
I think we have to change this.
Go watch that region with the DPS, guys. I know you love your DPS. I saw that straw poll. We play a lot of DPS over there. You should check it out.
That was only 28 seconds, but I can't listen to it anymore.
Cut it out.
Cut it. No, get him off there.
I feel like we have to take the crown away.
Yeah, no,
This is
I mean, we
disgusting.
can't do that. We've already crowned it. We're not going to Steve Harvey this one. It's staying.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what chat said, though, now that we've had time for all three to settle. Are the Toronto Defiant moves good? Yes. 16 out of 16 votes, 12 say yes, 4 say no.
Wow. 75%.
Should Overwatch League introduce balance changes mid-stage? 13 say yes, 5 say no.
Wow. There are even 5 people who said no.
Mid-stage? Okay, I feel
Who
like
would-
people didn't understand
No.
that.
It's only about the argument, though. Joe,
And then
Yeah, it's
finally,
about
should
that one.
Miles
Overwatch
ahead.
League franchises be required to field an academy team? I apparently mistyped that question. My bad. Straw pollers who could not understand what we were going for. Yiska wins no. 11 to Joe's 9. Saying
Whoa.
yes.
Close.
That's a close one.
So close one.
So
close
we have
one.
to. Okay, so it's basically a double win. Both win. Both lose. I mean, No
No,
one wins.
I mean, in the end,
Don't
aren't
watch
we
China.
all losers? But no, technically Joe wins because in the end, your vote as judge, Barroi, is the only vote that actually matters.
Judge,
Yes.
jury, and execution.
okay.
We give
There you go.
Twitch chat a vote, but we kind of go. It's kind of like when you get, you have the kids table at Thanksgiving,
yes,
and they
yes.
get like the pre-cut
Oh.
turkey.
Yeah, I
And,
remember
yeah.
that. We always had like a small table because the adults were sitting at the normal table and the kids were just sitting at the small table, and we got all the leftovers. It was like the
Yeah,
adults.
it wasn't like the
then-
best cuts. It wasn't
So,
like
so it was like there's like one table here and then one table here. So it was like the adults, they threw down the food to the dog, and whatever the dog didn't want, that was
I mean, a little bit different in America, I guess, but yeah, roughly the same idea there. So Joe does win because you
because I am the
gave
adult.
him 2 votes, and you're the adult. So
Yes.
there it is. So congrats, Joe. Yiska, keep chugging that wine, man.
I would say, as it's an esports topic, these 2 people, by the way, only 20 years old, these people have forced me to drink alcohol on their establishment. Also, I want you to really feel me on this. And I also was thrown off a building against my will.
Certainly look like it.
You don't understand the reference, do you?
No idea.
I have no idea what you're
That's a
talking
TF joke. Face up, bro.
Oh.
Wait, can I? Yes, here. It was hard. It was hard in my current state to come up with that hand sign, but I did it.
See, chat, this is who you voted for. This is an absolute animal that you voted for. Trying to throw up phase up signs. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Shame on you.
Volamel lives inside the rock. The other 3 of us live inside the rock. I've been watching the Tfue phase kind of debacle, but even I didn't catch that one.
The goober of a story.
Yeah, it's one of those things, huh? All right.
Big ol' eye roll.
Player versus player in the books. We did have some questions in chat. Wait, what were the different ones? So we did have one from Twitter.
I know, obviously. Oh,
So I got one from Coxbox Tornado.
name rings a bell. I've seen them around.
Yes. Same.
Change your name. Ask him about what it was like to build Winston's lab from the data scraps Blizzard gave us compared to the data given to Overwatch League teams today in 2019. I'd be very excited to hear how Barroi approaches data at different availability levels.
Okay, so it is a very different. Let's just say it was a very different experience from what it is now. Back then, I had to do
You did it manually for the most
Well,
part, right?
for some, yeah, I guess that's true. The main difference is that now, if I wanted to, and if I had the time to actually research, I could spend a lot more time on researching all the stuff that I want. Back then, it was like way more of just building the tools that make me able to that create the availability for actually doing research. And I mean, building Winston's Lab was a big part of it because the Winston's Lab gives me this kind of structure, right? To have all the research conducted that I want, you have to like build a couple of thousands of lines of code to kind of get to the point where you can actually use data. And now I'm at the point where I get all the data fed in, so I don't have to build tools that create the data anymore. And I already have the structure. So it is so much easier, so much more time I can spend on just research now on all the stuff that I want to do, instead of just doing the necessities. It's two very different worlds. Let's just say that.
See, I told you a while ago, you should have went the captcha route where you just take screenshots of specific places on screens and just have like the plebs fill that out and have your data acquisition that way.
That is actually a brilliant idea, and I should have done it.
So
I should have done it.
do you have access now to numbers and statistics that you need but you didn't have even manually collecting?
Oh yes, definitely. There's not only does Overwatch have like a public API now, which it didn't have 3 years ago, but also all the Overwatch League teams get statistics for every single Overwatch League match that are way more than I could ever do with just image recognition and manual input. It is a lot more specific, a lot more stuff that I can use. For example, something that I can do now is create like what is it called? I just looked at Joe walking.
Look at Joe in those Michigan shorts and his plaid shirt. I mean, I'm doing the same, dude. I'm wearing sweatpants. I get it, but come on.
So what was I saying? God,
we were talking about some of the stats.
Him.
You were talking about some of the stats that Overwatch League had that you can never get.
Something that they give us is gives us the possibility to create like what is it called, like hot maps or whatever, where you can see
heat maps.
Heat maps, yeah, exactly. That's something that I would be never able to do with just image recognition. So it's a different world. It's just a different world. I can spend so much more time on actually doing what I want instead of building all the ground up infrastructure that is basically Winston's Lab.
Interesting.
With the new replays, could you not make heat maps?
Well, it is a lot. Well,
you could, but
we didn't even talk about that. By the way, we know that the replay system is out there, and we've had something in Overwatch League. We're going to talk about it more though on Tuesday.
So yeah, that's the thing. That's what I mean. Back when it was only Winston's Lab, and there was no real data given from Blizzard before Overwatch League. Most of the time, or a lot of the time, was spent on building the tools. And now I not only have the tools already, but I also get stuff that I don't need new tools for. I get the data from Blizzard where I can create heat maps without building a tool for it, without coding like an insanely complex artificial intelligence. It is a lot
Humble brag.
nicer.
Yeah. It's nicer. Fair enough. Another question from Banter Life in chat says, will 12-player rosters, in your opinion, be more viable next year once we start going to specific cities?
Wow, that is a great question. That is a really, really good question. Wow. Wow. Okay, this question is amazing. Because so one thing that we have to consider, and I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. I would probably actually say yes. So one thing we have to consider, right? And I think we can bring in Joe and Yiska for that, is that if so, there are a lot of different scenarios that home and away could work. But let's say it is like hardcore, and we have to travel from one location to another every week, or every 2 weeks even. We could have like 4 players stay in Toronto or stay wherever they are located and just practice with the academy team or whatever, whatever, and just save the energy, not having to fly like 2 days a week. That is actually insane. I think at that point, those like football manager games or something where you have all the players and they have statistics, like they are good at shooting or they are good at goalkeeping or whatever. Let's just use soccer because I know soccer. And there's one statistics that says fitness. And fitness never really was something that you would have to consider in Overwatch because it's not a real sport. But I bet you, if you have to travel twice a week, then fitness actually becomes something that you have to consider. So if you can have players that save their fitness by not traveling, then I think that can become immensely valuable at some point. Sure.
It's also, esports players are so incredibly incompetent at managing their sleep schedule. If you think about it, just like if you have to cope with jet lag, it's going to be such a challenge.
Yes.
Dial 1-800-SLEEP, kids.
Yeah, that's right. So this one also came in from Twitter. Don't let me forget, from Bambi. Somebody named Bambi on Twitter says, as an analyst, how are you able to tell which data is important and which isn't? It's kind of a common saying to state the stats aren't everything, but they're obviously important. So how do you make that call?
You have to be very objective, and you have to do a lot of research. You have to look at a lot of different things. You have to look for hours and hours. Do your due diligence and look at a lot of different scenarios where you could apply the data and kind of figure out where statistics actually matter and where they don't. And you have to keep in mind that you're not doing this for yourself. You're not doing this to like say, oh, I found this new statistic. It's so insanely valuable. Look at me. You actually do that to improve like your team. You actually do that to make your team better. So you have to realize that 100 or 99 out of the 100 statistics or concepts you just created and found are not important at all. But there might be one that is. If you are not objective enough, you will fail by saying, oh, I looked at like 10 different things and this is the most important one. But the most important one out of 10 might just be as unimportant as a 10th statistic. You really have to look at a lot of different things. You have to be very objective, because if your top thing doesn't matter, then saying that it's the thing that matters most doesn't. It's useless information.
Yeah. Real quick, like there was one book that it's actually a fan fiction of Harry Potter, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's called Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, and the writer has like a bit in there, or I forget if it was like in a subnotes or whatever, but it's like as a core tenet of rationality, you have to detach from the idea that if you have 10 ideas, one of them is even one of them is valuable.
Yeah.
You got to prove them empirically in some way, and it takes a lot of resistance to say, okay, I actually am someone who has to have come up with 99 terrible ideas in order to get that one that is tangentially has value. And to forsake these theories is actually, like, especially if you're going into it with a lot of egoic attachment, that is a big problem for a lot of analysts in general.
Yes, that is very hard for people to do. And a lot of times I know that, or I notice that there are people that try to do something and they focus very hard on one thing that they think matters. And they do a lot of research and they are like, oh, look at this, look at what I found out. But in the end, it doesn't matter. And they don't see it because they are stubbornly like focusing on that. And they feel like if they throw everything away, what they just like did, all the work, then it wouldn't matter at all. But that is the work that matters most. The stuff that you find out that isn't useful is a lot more important than the things
Yes.
that you figure out that is important.
Mm-hmm. Be a negativa, yeah.
It kind of sounds dumb, but
Isn't that like
if you can't,
isn't that like an Edison quote too about like the light bulb? He's like, I just found 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really is. You have like this thing called Overwatch, and it's like this huge thing of cheese, and somewhere in there is like a gold nugget. And you just keep cutting away at the cheese, and just go like, okay, this is not the gold nugget. This is not the gold nugget. This is not the gold nugget, right? It's not like, oh, there it probably is. It is. This is not it.
Yeah, and a lot of people fail either by saying, "Oh, I cut 3 times. I'm out of power, so this doesn't work. There can't be any gold in the cheese."
Yes.
And other people would be like, "Oh, look at this. This is kind of golden cheese, right? So
yes,
I guess it counts." You only get there if you are dedicated enough to cut the whole fucking cheese in parts, and at the same time not be like stubborn enough to say that to say that there might be a gold nugget in the cheese, even though in this particular cheese there wasn't.
It's actually a beautiful analogy, and you're missing one key component, is looking for the loopholes, because this block of cheese is actually Swiss cheese. So you can't try to find the loopholes and go through the little holes in the cheese to find the gold nugget. You have to sit there and you have to scrape away after scrape.
Yeah, you can't just look into it.
You can't just jump through the hole and expect to get there really quickly. You have to 1 million scrapes before you get to that golden nugget.
Yeah.
You bunch of nerds.
The good part is
I hate
transitional.
I love cheese.
We're all lactose intolerant somehow.
Yes, I agree. Cheese is good. I love cheese.
But wait, what was my train of thought? It is definitely, the problem is also sometimes you take a gamble and say, okay, so that's half the thing, and then you take the wrong half, right? And that is like inherently a very big problem. And I think some of it is.
Oh, of course.
Some of the like statistical analysis I've seen does just that. It's unfortunate because it's actually a very good thing to do, and it also reinforces the idea of a high amount of iterations. You just have to have a lot of semi-good ideas that you then can prove empirically, right?
Yes. And getting to the point, as I said, it's very frustrating. It's just you spend I don't know how much time I spent on finding stuff that doesn't matter at all. Let me actually try to find an example.
That is actually, but the beauty of it is, dude.
Yeah.
Once you get close, right?
The
amount of time, like this is so okay, that's a Lindian fact, and in essence, it actually means the longer something stays around, the more likely it is to stay around, right? So certain religions certainly enjoy the Lindian effect, whatever. But what also it says in reverse is the longer it takes to find something, the longer this thing will stay around if it's proven to be accurate, right? So once you found something, And of course, the problem is sometimes Jeff just says, "Oh, okay, we're actually going from Gouda to Emmentaler," and it's just like, okay, we got a new cheese to cut. But yeah, that's also Overwatch.
Here's one thing for you. So one thing I tried at some point was trying to figure out if it matters when someone uses their ult in a fight where it's where they have a 2-man disadvantage and then use their ult, how high the win percentage is, and try to figure out if you can create a clutch factor out of that. Dude, that stat is so insignificant. I'm telling you, this is something I spent a lot of time on. It's just one example I just looked up. I don't know where to get that, but this is just one of those things where you spend a lot of time on it, and it is frustrating. But if you get there, as Yiska said, dude, I wrote like my first big statistical article on that I put on my website. I wrote like 3,000 words, and it felt like I did that in like a minute because it was so fun to do it. It was so great to just
rewarding.
Take all the knowledge and like bring it out to people, and then it got to the top of Reddit and got like thousands of views, and I'm like, damn, cool. That's so cool.
So I forgot. There's like one of my favorite authors, and I forgot who it is because he's really a cynical person, but he basically says the best writing comes out like a hot dropping, if you want. Like it just flows out of you. Yep. It's probably very good.
Yes.
And needed to be written too.
All right. On that note, we're gonna call it a show. Good writing is like is good dropping. Is that what it is?
He actually virtually said a good shit, but I was.
Good writing is like a good shit. There you go. We got it. All right. We got to get out. We just crossed.
Bukowski.
Oh.
Nice. Yeah. We're hopping out. We're at 2 hours. We're gonna come back shortly after we say goodbye for our post show. But first and foremost, Barroi, I gotta say something, man. There's going to be 10 years in the past or in the future when people are remembering the beginning years of competitive Overwatch and the beginnings of the Overwatch League. Of course, in 10 years in the future, you've got 1 million people tuning in concurrently. Everybody's hyped about Overwatch League. They're doing everything we expected them to do and more. You're going to be remembered as one of the fathers of competitive Overwatch.
Oh, I don't know about
that. You should be, and
I should be, but
we're canonizing you right now
because I can help it. Yes, if we can help it, Joe and I, then that will happen.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean, Joe and I? I'm right here, dude.
No, we are the writers. We go through that excruciating.
No one reads written content anymore. Let's go. Anyway,
I drink to that. Cheers.
So, literally, one of the fathers of competitive Overwatch have helped so many people along the way, regardless of whether it's written, spoken, on video. I hope that people do remember you as one of the fathers of competitive Overwatch, because truly what you did with Winston's Lab, and what you're doing in Overwatch League as an analyst for the Toronto Defiant could quite literally set the standard for so much more and beyond of even with just what we have with competitive Overwatch. So kudos to you. Thank you to you, by the way, because, Yiska invited me to his Discord, but you were one of the first people to actually reach out to me when I was doing Overwatch League Daily and reached out about just ways to help and putting questions and notes for me and helping me out there in a place where I had no business being. So I hope.
Well, I thank you for saving my life. That's another story.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I did also save his life because Barroi doesn't know how to work a lock on a door in the United States. Basically, is the short version of the story.
Or something. Come on.
In LA.
The funny thing is, I was out editing, and so I used to edit Overwatch League Daily so late, I would stay up until 4 a.m., 5 a.m. every night. Poor Katie, she's over here playing WoW right now. poor Katie would like never go to bed with her husband because I was editing Overwatch League daily. But I was up editing so late, and Barroi is like, "Hey, I have a question for you." And basically, long and short of it is I don't know how this lock works on this door. And it was literally just like try wiggling it and pushing it up.
It sounds so easy, but I genuinely think that I might have died that night.
Might have been. We might not have ever.
Possible.
There'd be no statistics in Overwatch. Is basically what we're saying. So,
Yeah.
but for real, your impact in competitive Overwatch has been insane. It would be a travesty if we don't remember you as such. And thank you for all the hard work that you do. And thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah,
by the
thanks
way,
for having me. It took
before
a long time.
I know we don't normally go that long, but if people talk, we stay on the air. So before we get out of here, though, where can people find you? Any shout outs, all that good stuff, Barroi? Give us the good stuff.
Well, you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/ggbarroi. There's all my tweets about pandas. Half of them are getting retweeted by the Tango Hunters because I tweet about pandas.
Good old Reagan. Yep.
Yeah.
I know the social media manager for Tango.
And in theory, you can also follow Winston on Twitter. I still control the Twitter account. I mean, it's still mine. So just follow me everywhere, and then follow Joe and Yiska obviously and obviously KickedTripod as well. Because John, Joe, and Yiska are great. So,
is voting still open for the World Cup?
Actually, we didn't talk about that. I'm running for a head coach.
Vote KickedTripod. And vote Barroi as well.
Yeah, so
voting's closed, by the way.
Voting is closed, but it opens.
Okay.
I think the second round opens at May 30. If you make the second round, I don't know how it works, to be honest. But just vote me and vote Tripod if you are in America or in Germany. And then, I'm sad we can't vote for Yiska.
Yeah, Yiska. I mean, listen, I would vote for Nuki over you for GM this year, but next year after Nuki is, GMing in Overwatch League and can't dedicate the time, next year it's you, my friend.
If Nuki makes it to Overwatch League, I might have to consider that.
Oh.
As a tribute.
For Nuki, it's not if, it's when. Otherwise, the whole system's rigged.
It has to be. Yes.
Right? It has to be. So hopefully we see Nuki in Overwatch League next year so that we can vote for Yiska next year for something. I just want to vote for Yiska for something. I don't even care what it is anymore. Let's just vote.
They could have voted for me, giving me a one up in this PvP. No? Not standing by your word.
Let's not go that far. Let's go for less important votes, like Overwatch World Cup.
Yeah, wow.
Yiska, what about you, man? Shout outs for the week. Where can people find you?
As soon as I sober up, I suppose I'm going to have a fun topic about Overwatch League structure soon. That is over on Overture. Definitely on Tuesday, I think. Can we do Tuesday this week? Next week?
Yeah.
As sort of like a prep. And then definitely don't be shy to approach me on Friday if you're at the showdown to say hi. I'll be there and just hang out.
Drunk.
I don't know. Actually,
Dude, once I'm at events, dude, I'm gone. I'm just gone. So maybe Yiska's different, but I know I would be. Cool. And where can people find you, Yiska?
At my Twitter, I think it's the best thing to aggregate content, and that's at Yiska out.
And that's basically everywhere. So Yiska out everywhere. All right, Joe, shout outs. Where can people find you? Let's go.
In about 15 minutes, I'm going to be crawling in that comfy old bed behind me because I haven't slept. You can find me at Volamel on most social media platforms except Instagram because screw that noise. And yeah, just kind of read up on some topics. Definitely tune into Atlantic Showdown. Get hyped for Gauntlet. And yeah, changes are coming. Be excited for Overwatch, guys.
Woo! All right, as for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod. Voting's closed. You'll notice we talked about it 1 week, and then I kind of just stepped away from it. If I make it, awesome. If I don't, whatever. I got Barroi's vote, or vote of confidence. And that's all that matters to me. And yeah, so find me everywhere at KickedTripod. Starting to stream. I know I've been playing, or I haven't started. I stream pretty consistently, but I've been playing some World of Warcraft with my wife, who now has her own streaming little setup, and it's cool. It's kind of a cool little area. So she's been streaming World of Warcraft. We've been playing together. It's been a ton of fun. So make sure to tune in, follow twitch.tv/KickedTripod, twitter.com/KickedTripod, youtube.com/KickedTripod, literally KickedTripod everywhere. Just everywhere is KickedTripod. I did, surprisingly, nobody picked KickedTripod.
I think I will create like a small page on Winston's Lab, winstonslab.com/KickedTripod.
Let's do it. We need one, right? So for the longest time, believe it or not, one of the biggest like boosts to Overwatch League dailies like viewership was because it was on the front page of Winston's Lab. It might still be.
It might still be.
It still is.
It
still is. I just looked it up. I was wondering if the RSS feed is actually set up for Tactical Crouch. It isn't.
Yeah, so Overwatch League Daily, I just morphed, I just like transitioned it from Overwatch League Daily to Tactical Crouch, but yeah, it's still on there. So
oh no, it is. It is.
Yeah,
it's actually okay.
Yeah, it's still there. I think it probably says Overwatch League Daily on it still, but it's Tactical Crouch. So
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much.
I'm lazy.
Yeah, it's like you have nothing else to do in the world. So thank you all for tuning in. Twitch chat, you guys have been amazing. We'll make sure to come back. Thanks subs, donos, and follows after the show. But before we do, as always, make sure to follow us everywhere at tactical_crouch. Tweet us your questions and topics you'd like to have discussed on the show. And the show records live. We're going to be back on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Watch, listen, anywhere where podcasts can be heard, as well as YouTube. We'll be back with episode 36 of Tactical Crouch. I need to move all this stuff all at the same time. And here we go. We'll be back after the music. Bye.